Hello Year 11. This video is going to explain your first English assessment for the Reading to Write unit. Over the next 7 terms, you'll get used to seeing these videos, so I want you to follow along with your gold sheet in front of you as we unpack your assessment task. So as you can see, this is your first task for English and it's weighted at 30%. It is assessing your Reading to Write unit, which is what you're currently studying in class. You can see that the outcomes are listed down there for you, 3, 4, 5 and 9, and that this will take place on Friday the 4th of April at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's not in your English lessons, that's a special incursion period that we sometimes set aside for assessments. Okay, so during this unit, Reading to Write, basically you are developing your skills in lots of different styles of writing, putting together a portfolio. And throughout that unit, you're going to be submitting little extracts, mini pieces to your teacher to get feedback on your skills. So this is not so much an assessment of content, but an assessment of your skills. In addition to doing some early work with analytical writing, you're really going to be focusing on persuasive writing, imaginative writing, discursive writing, and then learning how to write reflectively, so where you're looking at your own skills and reflecting on yourself as an author. In week 10, you will do an in-class test. Now, what we mean by in-class here at Freshie is you're not in your English classrooms, but the entire year group will be out at the same time doing this assessment task together. Now, you will be either set up in the gym or upstairs on level 4 where the classrooms open up. The assessment will start at 2 o'clock. So that's what time we actually begin. So you should be in your area well before 2 o'clock so that we can start on time. We will put up signs around the corridors and in public spaces so you know whether you're in the gym or upstairs on level 4. Now, the assessment will finish at 3:05, except if you've got disability provisions, and in which case your provisions will give you different parameters for times and you'll finish a little bit later. I mentioned that specifically so that you've got your buses and transport organised for the afternoon. Okay, so about the actual assessment task. There are 2 parts to this, part A and part B. Part A is the writing component, where you are writing imaginative, persuasive or discursively. And part B, like I mentioned before, is where you're asked to reflect on yourself as an author. Let's talk about part A first. So this will be 45 minutes. The first 5 minutes, however, are planning time. So you will be allowed 5 minutes to annotate, draw all over, look at the questions, pick which ones you want to do, highlight ideas and plan your response. After that, you'll have 40 minutes to write 2 pieces of writing. So imaginative, discursive and persuasive, you only need to write 2. On the day, you might decide which 2 plays to your strengths, or which 2 do you think works best for what you'd been preparing at home and what you'd pre-organised in your mind and things like that. Each of the questions will be designed as inspired by the mentor text that you've studied in class. So if, for instance, you naturally prefer imaginative writing and narrative, the question will be inspired by Tim Winton's Big World. And inside the question, you'll have some stimulus. So things to stimulate your ideas. So you'll have choice of both form because you don't have to write all 3, you just pick your best 2. And then inside those, you'll also have a little bit more choice as well so that we're really giving you the best opportunity to play to your skills, to your strengths. Both responses should be completed in about 20 minutes. Now, because they're only 20 minutes sort of sessions, we're not expecting you to write a full or complete piece. What we're looking for here is your craft, your skill as an author. So it might be, if we're talking example imaginative, a small vignette. So a moment, a small piece, not necessarily the whole narrative arc. Now, part B is the reflection. So that's also 20 minutes. And it's a short reflection explaining how you've employed language techniques and features to communicate your meaning. So you need to be quite comfortable. What is your purpose? What is your meaning? Now, in that section, you refer to part A and you pick one of the 2 pieces that you have written. So if you think I really did well with my imaginative, you are going to explain and reflect on that imaginative piece for me. You don't need to cover both sections of part A. Okay, so thinking again now about the marking criteria. So when the markers mark both sections of part A, so they might be marking your imaginative and your discursive, it will both be marked out of 20, and that's this marking criteria here. There's 3 skills that we're assessing. The first one is assessing how well you've composed something that's engaging and thoughtful, and that you've been able to effectively respond to the question and the stimulus. The second outcome is how well you've controlled that form. So there's 3 different forms to pick from. Obviously, the language devices and things like that you'd use for imaginative is very different to what you would persuasive. So your control of the selected form. And then the third skill is the same pretty much for all of your English assignments, and that is your language control for purpose and audience. So that's the fluidity, your sentence structure, your spelling, your grammar, all those sort of things, how clear, articulate, and well written is your response. Now the 3 skills don't change, but you can see moving your eyes down the page that the way we describe those skills will change according from the A range down to the E, which is on the page down to where you're really not engaging with the question very much at all. Okay, part B, reflection writing. This might be a little foreign to some of you. We haven't done much reflection writing in the junior years. I've already told you exactly what we're going to be asking you to explain how you have used language to communicate your meaning. And I want you to also be thinking about explaining how you've used the stimulus. Because like I said, if you pick imaginative, for example, you're going to have some stimulus choice so that you've got some options. So explaining how you've used language to shape your meaning, explain how you've used the stimulus, and again, how well you're controlling your language. The same skills get assessed, just the descripting bands change. You'll notice that this is marked only out of 10, so there's less weight given to this part than your other sections. Okay, so just some administrative elements. So you are able to consult your teacher throughout this entire unit. You're going to be doing lots of work and writing in class. But if you are particularly concerned about a piece that you're working on in preparation for the assignment, you can submit something to your classroom teacher by the 21st of March. They will talk to you about how you submit that. We encourage you to select a section or an extract or a passage that you're finding difficult to get feedback on that. Don't submit what you already know is really good. This is about you improving your skills as a writer. We're not going to be accepting drafts after that because we usually have a 2-week window for you to action any change, make any necessary adjustments in time for the real task. We are setting a word limit of 500 words for the draft for part A and 300 words for part B. Remembering that this is a skills test, so it's showing us the skills in those 500 words for us to give you feedback. Okay, so this is obviously your first English assignment, and we understand that it's a little daunting. So we're going to put together a sample or practice paper so that you can see what it looks like, that you get comfortable with the layout, that you understand how the questions are designed, and you can do that in exam conditions at home. You can do it with your friends in your study period, so you can be as best prepared for the assignment as possible. I want you to think about your time management. You might not have done a lot of writing under time conditions in the past, so start rehearsing that early to build up the speed and fluidity. And consult your teacher. Now, you are still only getting to know us in the first few weeks, but talk to them about your ideas. Start to get to know yourself as an author. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Are you better at persuasive than discursive? Write. To be a good writer, you need to practice writing. Write widely, write freely, write bravely. And test out that writing on real audiences. Get feedback. Share your response with different people in your class. Maybe you've got an older brother or sister or a neighbour or someone who would be able to give you honest, genuine feedback. Now, there's also a lot of stuff on the gold sheet about the assessment policy, not using AI, not plagiarising other people's work, And if we are concerned about that, we will go through Turnitin and you may get mark reduction. There's also a lot of information in there about being present on the day, and if you're away, you need to see the deputy. I'm going to ask your teachers to go through those details with you more carefully. If you have any questions, please see them first. Otherwise, as the head teacher of English, you can pop down and ask to see me in the staff room. Okay, I hope you enjoy this assessment task. Good luck and work hard.